Hello, I'm Beverly from South Greenwich Children's Centres. Today's story is called The Elephant and the Rope, and it is by A.M. Marcus. Will was having trouble with his homework. He tried and tried, but he just couldn't get the right answer. I can't do this. I'll never be able to, Will grumbled. Maybe I should talk to Grandpa before I give up. He always knows what to do, Will thought. What's wrong? Grandpa asked. You look like someone stole your only piece of chocolate. Will laughed, almost forgetting his bad mood. No, Grandpa, I'm having trouble with my homework. No matter how hard I try, I can't get the right answer. I give up, he growled. Grandpa thought for a moment and patted Will's back. Why don't we take a break while I tell you a story about when I was a young man, he said. Did you know I used to work for a circus? Grandpa asked. Will gasped, his eyes wide. Wow, really? Yes. Come and sit next to me and I'll tell you all about it, Grandpa said, motioning to the sofa. Grandpa began. I was about 20 years old at the time, and I used to do all sorts of things for the circus. For example, I would make sure the magician's rabbits didn't run away. I would help put the big show tents up and then help take them down afterwards. Sometimes I would even pop the popcorn, Grandpa said. Grandpa smiled as he remembered all the great things he used to do, and Will listened carefully, wondering what this had to do with his homework. One day, my boss told me to give the elephants a bath. And let me tell you, it was not an easy job. I had to use a long brush and a lot of soap. Plus, I had to watch out for both ends of the elephant. Grandpa chuckled. But here's the part you really need to hear, Will. When I first worked with the elephants, I could not believe my eyes. Those big, strong elephants were held in place by nothing but a tiny piece of rope tied to one of their front legs. It seemed strange to me, so I found one of the trainers to ask him why the elephants stayed there instead of breaking the rope and running away. The trainer told me that when elephants are very young, they tie a small rope around their foot. The young elephants try to break it, but they're still too small and weak. Eventually, they get used to the rope, and as they get bigger, they stop trying. Will could hardly believe it. He considered how the elephants were tricked and how they only thought they couldn't run away, but could have if only they had just tried. He realized they had given up too soon. Grandpa smiled and explained. You see, just like the elephants, a lot of people go through life hanging on to the belief that they can't do something simply because they failed at it once before. They forget that you can grow stronger if you just keep pushing yourself to your limits. Will thought about his homework and how quickly he wanted to quit just because he hadn't been able to do it the first few times. He decided he wouldn't give up like the elephants and that all he needed to do was keep trying until he could do it. Do you understand what I'm trying to teach you? Grandpa asked. Yes, oh yes I do, Will said, and he rushed back to his room determined to finish his homework. It took him a while, but he kept pushing himself until at last he succeeded. He felt like a big, strong elephant breaking the rope that had held him back. Will ran back to Grandpa to tell him the good news. He gave Will a big hug. Good job! I'm so proud of you for not giving up. Working hard pays off eventually, Grandpa told him. The next day at school, when Will handed in his homework, he told his class the story about the elephants. His teacher was very impressed with what he had learned from his grandpa, and she was happy that he hadn't given up like the elephants. At break time, some of the other children came up to him and asked if he would help them understand their homework. They wanted to keep trying, just like Will did. Will smiled as he went to the bench to explain the homework to his classmates. He was glad he was not like the elephants after all. He was excited to teach his friends what happens if you just persevere.